We are mere days away from the grand opening of Universal Epic Universe, the third theme park at Universal Orlando Resort. It all began back in the early 1990s with Universal Studios Florida, continued in 1999 with Islands of Adventure. Now, all the way in 2025, we have a brand new theme park. And it feels like a lifetime since we've opened a new major theme park in Orlando. I remember just when Legoland opened, and Legoland wasn't a completely new park, it was Cypress Gardens. I remember the excitement around that just because, not because it was something big and spectacular, but just because there was some new park essentially in the general vicinity of Orlando. So of course, when Universal opens a brand new park in this area, it was going to be a very big deal. And that it's a very big deal when your IPs are things like the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Super Nintendo World and things of that nature. But here we are days away. So they've been doing a long period of previews. It began with team member previews. It then progressed into pass holder previews. Those pass holder previews then became pass holder and everybody previews. There were resort guest previews too. And we have, so I ended up being in Japan when the previews began. We had some business to deal with in Japan. There were a bunch of new events at Tokyo Disney to cover. We went to Universal Studios Japan to see that Super Nintendo World. I wanted a refresh on that one. And then on the way back, we had to stop for some business in Hollywood. Universal Studios Hollywood launched their Fan Fest event, which you could watch all that coverage and that honest review here on the channel as well. And through all that process, I wasn't home for over a month, and over a month of previews of Epic Universe. So I was very excited. We had our opening night booked at Helios Grand Hotel on May 22nd. We had all our tickets booked and everything. I was very excited. And then these previews were announced. And I was like, well, I'm now going to be the last man in the universe. That's what's going to happen. So we only finally went May 5th or was it May 4th? May 5th, yeah. May 5th was my first day in the park. We ended up spending 6 consecutive days, took a day off, and then the Blue Dragon restaurant opened, so we went back. So I've spent 7 full days in Epic Universe, and I think that is enough to begin some semblance of Tom's honest review of Epic Universe. In order to do this correctly and ethically, there are a couple of things that have to be done. First of all, I don't feel, even after 7 days, I'm at a point where I can honestly review every last inch of Epic Universe. And also, it is a whole park with like 12 attractions. There's a lot to talk about. And there's no way we can dive in and go full nerd and discuss every little thing there is to discuss if we try to make this one episode about the whole park. But number two is, again, I haven't seen everything. Curse of the Werewolf, we were literally in line for Curse of the Werewolf one of our early days, and we had a virtual queue for Ministry of Magic. I was like, this is not everyone's favorite ride. Let's just get out of line and go do that so we don't miss it. And Curse of the Werewolf never opened again for the rest of the previews we went to, including today when it was supposed to, and then it just didn't. So I haven't seen Curse of the Werewolf. So that's going to be left for opening day at this point. With that being said, there's also like just some lands where I feel like I'm slightly incomplete. Super Nintendo World, I haven't been to that particular Toadstool Cafe. I haven't yet eaten at Yoshi's Snack Island. There's a little bit more to it. There's a little bit more I'd like to experience before I review Super Nintendo World. And obviously without Curse of the Werewolf, I don't feel prepared to talk about Dark Universe and Darkmoor. But we have a lot to cover. There are 5 lands. It's 4 portals and a central land to talk about. And I think I feel pretty confident in talking about, starting to talk about those places. And one place I feel most confident beginning is Celestial Park. So Celestial Park, we've had a lot of experience with. We have been on Stardust Racers a lot. We've been on Constellation Carousel a lot. I've even dined at every single last venue in that area, walk through the shops, everything. So we really watch the fountain shows. I feel like I have covered every last inch of Celestial Park as much as possible. And so that's where we're going to focus. Part 1 of the honest review of Epic Universe is going to be focused solely on Celestial Park. Let's begin with the premise of Epic Universe. The premise is that there are portals, that the Celestials have created a technology, this portal jumping technology, that allows them to build these portals that jump to these other worlds. Those other worlds being How to Train Your Dragon, the Isle of Berk, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Darkmoor and the Dark Universe, and Super Nintendo World. You enter Celestial Park through the Chronos, which is a portal in itself. Well, I'm going to save the Chronos. That's the park icon. We're going to talk about that last. But you enter into the Court of the Moon. And I really, really love this area. I love this area. But it's actually, let's take a step back for a second. Talk about this. It's Celestial Park. The Celestials live in this place, and it is a wholly original land, which is what we live and die for as theme park fans. My favorite Disney attractions and lands of all time are the original things: Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, Country Bear Jamboree, Jungle Cruise. We love that. We love original characters. There's so many original characters around the world I just love so much. Figment at the top of that list. I think about Albert the Monkey in Mystic Manor at Hong Kong Disneyland. I think about all the great original attractions at Tokyo Disney Sea. Tony Solaroni, our good friend at Pan-Galactic Pizza Port at Tokyo Disneyland, and his distant cousin, Sunny Eclipse, right here in Tomorrowland at the Magic Kingdom. So many great original characters and stories inhabit the parks. Disney, really is what began that tradition. And it's a great tradition. And Universal, obviously inspired by Disney to become more of a theme park and less of a movie studio over time. And as time has gone on, that's given Universal the opportunity to delve into original stories. And we're at a point in 2025 where we cannot deny the cross-pollination, that Imagineering began this rich tradition, and Imagineers left Imagineering or were let go or whatever, and have cross-pollinated throughout the themed entertainment industry. You'll find their work everywhere. So that Disney touch, what they were taught, those lessons of how themed entertainment should be, have been spread across the world. And now in the themed entertainment industry, everyone's been everywhere. People from creative, people who started their career in creative ended up at WDI. People who are in WDI are at creative. It's all over the place. So anyway, that tradition, that rich tradition continued into Universal. Universal began with a park in Florida that was just a studio park. And I don't want to say just a studio park, because I love those studio parks. MGM and Universal Studios Florida, two of my favorite parks of all time. I love that vibe. I love that theme. I love that feel of the working studio park. And I miss it dearly. My favorite Universal attractions of all time: Jaws, Back to the Future, Confrontation. I love those all so much, and I miss them dearly. But as the art form progressed, audiences asked for more. They asked for greater original storytelling, and I think we had a great period of that through the 1990s. Islands of Adventure has some wonderful moments of that. Now, again, definitely inspired by real stories from the real world. But nonetheless, there were original characters and moments. Islands of Adventure. Port of Entry, a completely original area, beautiful entrance area. I don't even know if, arguably, I think most fans would tell you Port of Entry is the best land in Islands of Adventure. It's the best island because of that original storytelling, the placemaking. There's so many great details. It has so much personality and character. It is a wonderful place to enter through. And that entrance music is, bar none, top 10 theme park music in the world. That entrance music at Islands of Adventure. So there's a lot of great, and there was a lot of great original storytelling. Of course, we all miss, Dueling Dragons and Poseidon's Fury and so many of those things that inhabited that area of the park, the Lost Continent. And then we fast forward many, many years. Now in 2025, it is very rare to find that kind of storytelling. All these companies, certainly we start around 1999 is when we started to get lands based on single IP, on single intellectual properties. We start to see that a lot at that time. I don't know if we want to call Dr. Seuss a single IP, but you have a single IP land there. Marvel on the other side. Jurassic Park probably a better example, because Jurassic Park was really one singular movie series, and at that point, was it just the two films in 1999? Was that right at that point? I think it is. So of all those things, the thing that is the most singularly focused, obviously there's the books as well, but the most singularly focused, an IP, a land based on a single IP with not a whole lot of material other than a film or two. And we see that a lot in that era. If we look at Tokyo Disney Sea, Mysterious Island is based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, specifically the Disney movie, loosely adapted. We have Arabian Coast for Aladdin. We have Mermaid Lagoon for The Little Mermaid. We start to see that trend begin there. Very, just the earliest seeds are planted. And then we get to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Islands of Adventure, which changes the industry forever. And they realize that this is what people want. They want to fully step into the worlds of these movies. It turns out that this is the best way to go, we think, as an industry. And that's the way we go with things like Cars Land, Pandora, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, more Harry Potter, and we progress and progress and progress. And so because of the success of the first Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Cars Land and all of those other things I've mentioned, and the ones that they're so numerous now that I can't even mention them all now. Because of that success, original storytelling becomes a scarcity. Very rarely we have these little moments where we get that original storytelling, like the treehouse at Disneyland comes to mind, the Adventureland treehouse, where everyone was convinced, well, they're going to turn that into Encanto, aren't they? And then instead it got to be this original thing with ties to the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, another great, the shining example of original storytelling for Disney Imagineers in the 2000s and 2010s and 2020s. We actually got something like that, and there are those rare moments, the Pirate Tavern that's coming, things like that. And Universal, even less so, because Universal is at their heart, their parks about the movies. That's their primary focus. When your first park is the studio park, when you jump off from that, you still are, at your core, parks themed to movies. So you get way less of that original storytelling. Now again, even outside of Islands of Adventure, there are great examples. Space Fantasy at Universal Studios Japan. I adore that attraction. I adore the characters in it. Wonderful. Universal could do it. There's no doubt. We knew that the people at Universal Creative could do great original storytelling. We've seen it before. It's just been a good long while since we've seen it. And Celestial Park was, for me, the most exciting thing because we're getting a whole land in the middle that has its own characters and its own story, and it's a wholly new thing. I do love the idea of, look, the name of our studio is, we are Universal Studios, Universal Pictures. And so it's Universal. It's a globe floating in space. That's our opening. So the park is called, we're going to have a park called Epic Universe, and the theme is going to be the galaxy, the stars, the universe. And I think that it's just smart. Just made a lot of sense. Maybe it was low-hanging fruit, but I don't think there was a better idea in all of existence than to theme this park in that way. So having Celestial Park that's themed to the galaxy and constellations and stars and planets and moons and suns and all of those things works really beautifully. It's great. And there is some great storytelling up front. There's some really great storytelling up front in those stores. I would have liked a little more. I would have liked a little more storytelling in those shops. Now, my favorite shop is where this guy's from. This is Captain Cacao. I don't need to tell you that at this point. You've heard of him. You probably own one. He's very sold out right now. The backpack version's available. He's very sold out, and for good reason, because as theme park fans, we love original characters and original storytelling, and he is a wonderful testament to that, and I am so glad that the theme park going world, the fandom here in Orlando, team members and pass holders and everybody gobbled him up to prove that original storytelling can sell, in some cases, better than IP. That we will be glad to give you the money from our pocket if you come up with something thoughtful and interesting, and cute doesn't hurt either. But Celestial, what is it? It's Moonship Chocolates and Celestial Sweets. I don't have all the names of these places in front of me. Some of these store names are a little hard to remember. But nonetheless, Captain Cacao, and I don't even have all the backstory yet, right? I have not fully delved into the backstory of every little thing yet. I forget who was your like Captain or no, you're the captain. I don't know what her role is. Forget the lady. She doesn't appear. She's on like the main sign outside, and then she never appears again. She might as well not exist, and we don't care. We don't need her. We just need him. He alone is fine. We don't need her. So don't worry about her. But he's wonderful. And I love you enter the store, is a big giant bust of Captain Cacao on the outside. And you go inside, and it's a gorgeous interior. It looks like the back of the ship. And they even there's cases that explain what is in the balloon. There's a big balloon which flies the ship away. And they're marshmallows. They're star marshmallows that lift the ship. And that's what's in the fixture outside in the sign. Not the sign, there's just a big statue of the ship out under the glass awning outside. And it's wonderful. And they're these light up star marshmallows, and you see them inside the store too, with a statue of like plush version of Captain Cacao. There's a lot of Captain Cacao inconsistency though. In the brass thing, the statue, whatever you want to call it outside, Captain Cacao is a full-size grown bear with a captain's hat. But then inside, there's the statue version of him in like the baby plush form, which is what I prefer. I don't need him to be a full-grown bear. That's intimidating. I don't know that I want to buy chocolate from a full-grown bear. Like this, you got it right with this. I mean, this is adorable. This is the scale he should be in. And lose the woman. We don't need her. Get rid of her. She's nonsense. Yeah, I mean, she barely gets referenced in the store. Like what I think, I think about Figment, and I think I love Figment by himself, but Dreamfinder really enhances Figment. And then I think about Mystic Manor in Hong Kong. I think about how Lord Henry Mystic enhances Albert, the monkey. And then I think for them, it's clearly an attempt to have this classic theme park pairing of explorer human and cute animal sidekick, and he doesn't need her. She contributes nothing. So, anyway. Also, Sailor Bear mascot. Duffy the Disney Bear is Sailor Bear mascot for Disney Sea. There's a lot of connective tissue here. But nonetheless, I mean, it's tale as old as time. It's a formula that works. Why not? Why not do it? The other thing I want to say, and this is going to carry through a lot of Epic Universe, the focus on packaging. The focus on unique packaging. I have ranted and raved. If you've ever watched the Tokyo vlogs on our other channel, where we go to the Disney parks in Japan, you'll see I'll go to a restaurant and I'm so enamored with the fact that the boats and the paper and all the things, the cups, everything is generally themed to the location or the event that's going on. And I'm like, why in the American parks we never get that? You go to a Universal Park or a Disney park, you get that generic Coke cup, and it's not special. That's not special. Epic Universe, they nailed it. If you buy, number one, all the prepackaged stuff, the packaging is adorable. It's them in the ship or he's on it, and it's all great. But what I really love is if you buy some of the chocolate from the case or some of the sweets from the case, there's a box they put it in that artwork is gorgeous. It's beautiful, and it's custom. The little candy bag. The candy bag you fill with the bulk candy has a logo and such for the store on it. And then the store has its own merchandise, not just him. There's shirts and bags and stuff. These are all the things I've yelled about that we go to the Asian parks and you're like, man, it would be great if we did this in America. Why do they not think this will work? And I love at Epic Universe that they got away with it. They did it. And this should be the norm moving forward. This should be the norm. And I will tell you, it doesn't stop here. Every single restaurant, whether we were at the Burning Blade, they had the special paper under the food. Cafe Lair in Wizarding World of Harry Potter, the plating and everything is just absolutely custom and perfect. And then I think about, Donkey Kong or Super Nintendo World, the cups, the plastic cups are all unique. And that started with Japan and Hollywood, and it's like that there too. But this should be the standard moving forward. It makes everything feel special. It's a little thing. You're multi-billion, Disney and Universal, you're both multi-billion-dollar corporations. You can afford to do this. The bottom line will not be that greatly impacted. And I think it just makes the park feel more thematic and more special. And it makes every little experience memorable. People are going to go back and look at their photos of their food. We live in a day and age where everyone photographs their food, not even just bloggers and vloggers. Everyday guests photograph their food, and when they go back and look, they're going to go like, yeah, remember it came in that packet. It had special packaging. Wasn't that cool? These things matter. These little things matter, and we have to remember this as we go forward. I am praising the love and care that went into food packaging. And if food packaging is important, then you know what else is important? Sightlines. We're going to have that conversation, and you best get ready for it because it matters. If those things matter, then that matters because, folks, it all matters. In the world of multi-billion-dollar corporation mega theme parks, all of that storytelling matters because it's been done before, and if it's been done before, it can be done again. And the reoccurring theme we're going to have in the Epic Universe Review is how far they got to go in so many respects. They got to go to the absolute ends of what is possible in themed entertainment. And then it's very clear where management, where businessmen and women, where pencil pushers came in and dialed it back. And we'll talk about that. And that is the fight. That has been the fight since Walt Disney opened Disneyland. The fight has been between incredibly creative people and people who are operating the business. And there is a give and take, and there is an art to that give and take. Like, these people have to exist. I'm not telling you every single executive in every theme park in the world is an evil, money-hungry so-and-so. I'm not going to tell you that because I don't believe that. But I think a lot of them, like, that's their job and that's their focus. And sometimes it takes what could be, and I think Epic Universe at times is one of the best, if not the best, theme park in the world I've ever been to. I think it has those moments. And then there are clearly things that happened that brought them back down to earth, as if someone had popped the fluffy marshmallows in Captain Cacao's balloon and he slowly had to descend because there were less of them. Look at this. He's so sad. Look at that face. Do you want to make him descend? I don't. Don't do that to Captain Cacao. He's wonderful. But either way, we'll keep moving along. I really like these shop interiors. I think they're fantastic. That's the best one by far. It's gorgeous in there. And I'm going to use this, and this is the highest praise I can give you in this industry. And you'll have to reckon with it. I know those who haven't been to Japan, you don't want to hear it because you've heard it a million times, but you're going to hear it because it's the truth. And that's why this is called an honest review, because I'm not going to pull punches with you. We're going to have an honest, real conversation about all of this. And the truth is that Disney Sea is the magnum opus. They got away with it. They got to build a park where money was no object and theme knew no bounds and sightlines knew no bounds in a way that had never been done before and honestly has kind of never been done since. And there are moments where we scratch it. I think the interior of the Moonship Sweets store, Celestial Sweets, Moonship Chocolates, whatever it is Disney Sea quality. I think it goes toe-to-toe with any interior at Disney Sea. And I think there are moments in the other stores that come real close. The Other Worlds Mercantile Shop, there's a nice, wonderful moving element in the middle. It has these pretty murals. It's a little sparse other than that, but it's very nice. And it is far removed from what Disney has done to their shopping spaces, which is suck all color and life from them. And Universal's not exempt. I'm not clearing them. That store at City Walk is hideous. That new Universal Studio store they opened a couple years ago is atrocious. It's the same junk Disney has done, where it's plain and white and boring. And I am so glad that we do not have one store or one interior in Epic Universe that is plain and white and boring. Thank you for not doing that and believing in theme in a theme park. Thank you. Moving to the other side, there's the Sensorium Emporium and the Christmas store, which I believe is Northern Lights Wintry Wonders, I think. It's a magnificent interior. There's a giant microscope. There's a big workspace up top. There's in the Christmas store, it's a beautiful tree, and there's a window with presents dropping it out of a chute into Santa's bag. There's a cool conveyor belt moving element that has Captain Cacao and also Earl the Squirrel hiding. There's the detail, the giant Santa's list that not only says that he looked at it, but then he stamped it that he's checked it twice. There's so many little details to take in, which is the magic of this art form. They nailed it. They nailed it. I love the facades. I like walking under the big glass canopies out front. I think the signs on these shops are all beautiful. They did a nice job. Even the Starbucks. I'm shocked we didn't get a very plain Starbucks, because the Starbucks at the other Universal locations they're boring and plain, and they could be anywhere. But the one at Epic feels special. It feels like it's its own thing. It's not my favorite interior of all the ones we just talked about, but nonetheless, it is a step above typical Starbucks and fits Celestial Park very, very well. Moving beyond that, the thing they nailed more than anything in this park is interiors. It reminds me of Disneyland Paris and Disney Sea in that way, where it's every interior deserves to be explored and looked at, and you really have to go in and spend some time just looking up and around. Atlantic Restaurant. We have a whole separate review of Atlantic Restaurant. I'm not going to talk about food so much in this. I adore that building. The fact that from the outside it is a giant fish tank. You're looking into a giant fish tank, and at night those big mechanical fish light up and they move on the track, and from the outside that is just super cool. That's great. And then inside it's so ornate. There's all this etched glass. The check-in podium is a giant diving helmet. The bar has all sorts of giant ship machinery. There are beautiful seahorse and mermaid statues all up and down the ends of the staircase, or at the top and bottom of the staircases and stairwells. And this is going to take us to our first weird thing that I'm going to take us on a little journey. This is going to be a weird one. I can't believe how much love and care went into the bathrooms at Epic Universe. There are some incredible bathroom spaces. And I know people have talked about Darkmoor and the black toilets and the black urinals. That's honestly the worst one. That's the least detailed of all the bathrooms I'm going to talk about. The Atlantic Oakenstar Tavern, there's so many bathrooms with incredible detail. In Burke, there's tile murals, beautiful tile murals. The bathrooms are unbelievable. And so that's what I mean what was frustrating about Epic is how close we got to like the greatest thing ever before management cut the legs out from under them, because it's very clear that they wanted the effort to be there, and the creative team was ready to go all the way, and then they just weren't allowed to. And it's so frustrating, because Universal really could have made a statement. Universal could have actually taken the industry. They really could have said oh, well, our new park is now considered the premier. People are saying it's as good as Disney Sea or better. And they could have done it. There are moments that prove it. I've talked about these interiors. The Atlantic Restaurant is up there with just about anything I've ever seen. The wood finishes, the booths that look like clamshells, all the detail in there. It is a magnificent space, and the food was delicious. On top of it, it wasn't a one-trick pony either. So the other thing I want to talk about Celestial Park is using, this is the first time ever we have a main street that runs through the entire length of a park. This has never been done before. We've never had this, where it runs on the whole middle and then the land's split off. I will leave my thoughts on land's dead ending for when we talk about the portals. I don't know that that's going to function. We'll see. But I love the way Celestial's laid out, just these sort of 3 rings around water features. with the bridges in between, and we'll get to the fountain down at the other end, the big fountain, the show fountain. I really like the way this works, and it's easy to cut across the park, and I really like that. I don't know that the dead end portals are my favorite thing, but the middle works really, really well. And what I like about that is also, so you enter at the front of the park, there are those 4 stores and the Starbucks, and you finish, and it's very short. It doesn't go very long because it's not a lot. And you're like, man, there's not a lot up here. And then before the Kronos, there's guest services and there's lockers up there and all that kind of necessary stuff and security out front. And so it feels real short, and you're like, where is everything else? And the more you walk, you realize, like, oh, well, yeah, it was an opportunity. That Celestial Park goes all the way to the hotel. It goes all the way to the Helios Grand. So we don't have to put everything up front. So that way you don't always have to go to the front if you need this, that, or the other thing. We can spread all that stuff out. And what if we spread out guest relations? This is my favorite thing, is the concierge kiosks, if you will. They should just be called guest services. I don't know why they're not. But the concierge is basically remote guest services, which we've seen as a trend. Disney started doing the little kiosks all around the podiums. And we've seen this where it's like, well, if you need help from guest services or guest relations, maybe you don't want to walk all the way to the front of the park. So maybe it'd be great if there were little outposts in places that could help you. And Epic has that. They have a bunch of them scattered throughout Celestial Park. I love the fact that there's also locker stations on the back of these. That's great. There's water fountains for people, and then just guest services being kind of wherever you need them. You're never too far from a guest services location with one of these concierge desks. But again, you also spread out all these other things, like the hot dog place is we put that all the way out by the carousel. We have a bao bun place by the Burke Portal. The Burke Portal. We have the Astro Pub is out by the show fountain. We have the Blue Dragon restaurant all the way out by Helios. But then the Atlantic's kind of in the middle by Nintendo. We have the carousel in the center, but Stardust Racers, but keep the attractions out of it. All your restaurants and your necessary facilities are nice and spread out, and I like that. It works really well. Atmosphere-wise, the greenery and the water features and all of that is very, very nice. At night, the place really sparkles and shines. It's beautiful from up on the Helios. It's beautiful from in the park as well. I will say there is this interesting mix of what look like traditional, some very charming, very warm light features in the evening, like the carousel. That carousel building at night is spectacular. I love it. And then it kind of gets ruined by, they have like these plastic looking like light up poppies. I don't know what else to call them, that stick out of the lawn space across the water from the carousel. And there's this disconnect of like golden warm colors. It's just really beautiful, and it shimmers and shines. And then this very modern looking assemblage of lighting fixtures on the other side where it's, I don't know. Like at night, as a whole thing, it's gorgeous. But when you have those small moments where it's like just the carousel and that, you're like, well, I love the carousel's gold, and those warm colors make me, it makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. And these new like they feel more neon and more, they don't blend well with the carousel lighting. There's weird moments like that. There's towards the front of Celestial Park, there's light up sort of cattails. You know what a cattail is? Those things stick out of the water. There's light up versions of those, and they're kind of funky. It's weird because there's beautiful lighting fixtures like those torches. The torches on either side of the gods and goddesses at either end of the park. They're these big torches. But then also water runs down. There's a waterfall underneath, and I love those. I think they're beautiful. They're great. But then you have those up against like those cattail things that look plasticky and modern. They look like they're sold at a glow cart nearby. And I'm like, there's a disconnect here. This isn't all gelling together perfectly. But we're really nitpicking because at night the whole Celestial Park is wonderful. And night's also better too because you know what? It fixes the sightline problems, which there are a lot of them. There's a lot of them. Here's the number one problem with sightlines where, I know I was called names on the internet for insisting that sightlines matter. A fellow journalist joined in where he was mad that was being brought up and then said that why do people make Disney see their entire personality? And I was like, because it's cool. I mean, why are theme parks all of our personalities, right? Like we are, as theme park fans, we are an amalgamation of all the theme parks we've been to, and we love things from all of them. And they, in some cases, all that makes up our personality. But I think that's ridiculous as a theme park journalist, because you haven't been to Disney Sea. I'm sorry, if you're a self-respecting theme park journalist, you should probably go see other parks so you can compare and contrast and have a better grasp of what is possible in the industry and what has been done and what hasn't to this point. But nonetheless, sightlines matter. If food packaging matters, if original characters that are plush bears matter, if any of those things matter, then so do sightlines. And I will tell you, the next honest review we're going to do is Ministry of Magic. They sure as hell cared about sightlines in there because there is not one break in immersion in that portal. Not one. And so you're going to tell me, you're going to look at me with a straight face and tell me sightlines don't matter when very clearly they did to the people on that project. So why do they matter in that portal but they don't matter everywhere else? Because they do. They do matter. There are some moments in Celestial Park that I wish they could get back. One of them is between the Starbucks and the future expansion restaurant. There's a whole restaurant building that's not anything yet. There's a gate, and the gate's not very tall, and there's nothing around it decorative, and it just looks at the back of Burke. It just looks at show buildings. And you walk through this gorgeous area. The front of Celestial Park is so pretty, and then you just look to the right, and you're like, oh, and it takes you out of it. It takes you out of it. It really does. Also, I don't know that there's a single Super Nintendo world that I like the exterior of. They have not ever figured this thing out. By trying to enclose that land with the big green walls, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You see that also those show buildings are super visible from Celestial Park, from kind of everywhere in that area, on either side, left or right. There is an expansion pad on the left side, which is the problem, kind of, is they probably just need to build whatever's going to go there now because it's hideous on that side. But it just doesn't look good. It's like, you have the portal and the pipe, which is great, but then beyond that, it's just like concrete panels that build up to make the Nintendo. It breaks the illusion before you're in the illusion. It's not good. Also, in story, if we've gone through the trouble of writing a story for Celestial Park, that the Celestials built this technology of these portals that take you to other worlds. If the portal is the thing that takes you to the other world, why am I seeing into the portal from Celestial Park? Right? So isn't the idea that the portal is the way in? Some are better than others. I will say, like, there are some portals where you don't really see a ton of it before you go through. And that's the proper idea. But if that's the story, then either the portal, the place through the portal is either physically connected to Celestial Park or it's not. Either I need the portal or I don't. If it's physically located next to Celestial Park, the portal is not necessary. I don't have to go through a portal if the thing is actually there. So if we've cared enough to make that story, we need to follow through sightline wise. And in some cases they did. There's some portals where there's enough shrubbery around them. Burke, for the most part, I think on the left side it'll grow in a little bit to the point at which where you won't really see too much of Burke from Celestial Park. And I think it'll work. But otherwise, there are some sightline problems in that part of the park, for sure. For sure. And I hope over time as the park grows that they'll be addressed. I really hope so. Again, because you see that level of effort on those interiors and the story and all of these things. And if all of those things matter, you can't tell me suddenly one thing doesn't. If so many small things matters, a big thing like immersion, if it's an attempt at immersion, if the packaging and the characters and the backstory and the propping and all of those things in the space are all just to create immersion in another world, then anything that takes you out of it, whatever it may be, if it's a cast member or a team member talking about their shifts that they have coming up this week in front of guests, if it's a sight line, if it's whatever, like those are the things that take you out of the story that you have entered. And we want to stay in it within reason. We want to stay in that story as much as possible. Obviously, like Galaxy's Edge needing to have restroom signs when originally they weren't going to do that. They were going to call them refreshers. There are conceits you have to make to reality. But in some cases, there's ones you don't. And if you've ever been to Tokyo Disney Sea, I'm not saying every inch of it is a perfect sightline. 99.9%, right? From Raging Spirits, the dinky coaster they added shortly after opening for capacity, there are some sightline problems while you're on that thing. And then also the hotel they built beyond Disney Sea after the park opened, there's some spots you can see it. But for the most part, 99.9% of that park, the amazement is that someone thought of all of it. That park you walk through and you're like, how did people realize this? How did they know they had to put something there? And why did they put so much? How did they get away with doing so much to block the outside world? And how did they figure out how to use the real ocean as a backdrop? And then on one side, they had to hide the entire metropolis of Tokyo, Japan. And on the other side, they had to blend with the ocean. And it's all magnificently done. And there are very little or very few conceits made. That is the magic of that park, is never before had so much money and so much effort and so much energy gone into things that weren't rides or shows or dining venues or things that people actually utilize in the park or that aren't the icon. Moments that aren't really meant to be photographed in that park are just unbelievably gorgeous. And there are moments in Epic Universe that are that. And that's why it's so frustrating when they weren't allowed to go all the way. I'm going to switch gears because that's going to come back into play when we get to Stardust Racers. I'm going to talk about the attractions very quickly. There's 2 in this land. There's technically 3. Astronomica, they consider an attraction. That's the water play area. That has not functioned yet. I've seen them tested at night. The lighting on it looked spectacular. It makes it look like there's little ripples of water going outwards. It looked really cool. So when that does open, I think, especially at night, that's going to be a really great splash pad. And you cannot deny the importance of splash pads in a Florida theme park. Kids will love this. It'll be much needed. That's great that it's there. Constellation Carousel is one of the most thoughtful iterations of, think about how long the carousel has been a part of parks. Not even theme parks, just parks in general. That's how old the carousel is. It predates theme parks. And this is a really thoughtful new take on that. Number 1, the building. Now, during the day, I will say I don't love the finish on it. Modern construction bothers me in a lot of ways. The finish looks a little plasticky and a little cheap during the day. It's not great. At night, it's all worth it for night because I love that building at night. It is magnificent. On that little body of water, it is my favorite thing. It's great. The carousel ride itself is so thoughtful. It has 7 different music tracks. At night, they all have their own unique lighting. There's lighting in the carousel animals themselves. There's unique programming for each. Like taking the carousel and reinventing it is not an easy thing to do because we've had a long time to live with the carousel and people have done a lot of different iterations of it. This is really cool. These 3 turntables and 1 big turntable. And they all move up and down, but they're not connected on top. They all just have these light up planets on the top. But I thought the real genius innovation, and I'm sure this is somewhere in the world. I haven't been able to look it up yet. If this is the first time it's ever been done, then whoever came up with this is a genius. But I imagine they saw this somewhere in the world and were like, we have to do this. And I love that it exists. These 3-seat carousel vehicles. So number one, the regular horses, if you will, or animals, have 2 seats. You could sit together, 2 people on them. They're nice and long and big, these carousel animals. Then there are what they call starships. And the starships can seat 2 larger guests and a smaller guest who's essentially riding the animal, kind of like it's a separate carousel horse, but they're not fully removed from the larger guest with them. This is amazing, because how many of us in our lives rode the carousel and our parents stood there next to us to make sure we were okay? And in this case, your parents actually get to ride it with you, or your chaperones, guardians, whoever. They get to ride it with you, but the kid still gets the full experience of being on the animal, because it is a little raised seat on the animal. And then they get to sit with the kid and everybody experiences it together. That is a beautiful, wonderful thing. This is a tremendous idea. I love it so much. And then beyond that, the music tracks are fun. Not all of them are just slow and, like a typical carousel. There's essentially some EDM tracks, and they're really fun, especially at night. But I love that, like, the song, and then the record scratches, and then the carousel will go in the reverse direction that it was going. Really, really cool. I love it. And talking about the exterior, I do like those glass. I don't know if they're actual glass or if they're plastic or what they are. Those glass portions where the light shines through and the pattern gets illuminated on the ground during daylight hours. That's really pretty. But the queue it's a bad queue. It's a real bad queue. That extended queue for that goes through this little, it's just a canopy. There's zero propping. There's nothing going on in there. It's a terrible, terrible queue. And look, I'm not saying every carousel ever has a good queue. 90% of them don't have good queues, but it just feels a little plain, a little empty. I do love the marquee for Constellation Carousel. That sign is great. I love it. The tower sign and the carousel across. It's really good. Very good. But I love Constellation Carousel. Don't sleep on the carousel. It's a good one. Let's talk about Stardust Racers. So Stardust Racers, I have never had such a love-hate relationship with an attraction, because especially seeing moments in this park, creative people could have gone all the way. They could have, and they weren't allowed to. And I'm grateful that we have such a fun roller coaster. It is one of, if not the most fun roller coaster I've ever been on in my entire life. If you don't know the premise, they're dueling. Their Stardust Racers are dueling coasters, and they crisscross several times throughout their journey. There's a green side and a yellow side, and everyone likes to argue which one is better. That's the fun thing to do right now, is ride them both and then deliberate with your friends which is better. I just think it's so much fun. I remember dueling. I'm very old. I rode Dueling Dragons when it dueled, and it was super cool. But man, does it not come close to this. The experience on this coaster of coming so close to another coaster train, it goes over you, you go over them, and then when the two inversions, when one inverts and then the other inverts, and you both get kind of lost for a while, and you don't even know which train is upside down for a moment, that's really well designed. That is spectacular. I saw so many people said it was more intense than Velocicoaster. I don't think so. I think it's more family friendly than Velocicoaster, really. It has that, one real big inversion. There's no other ones. Otherwise, it's a lot of airtime. And even as far as airtime, it's not even close to Mako at SeaWorld. Mako at SeaWorld, just airtime hill after airtime hill after airtime hill. Now, don't get me wrong. There's definitely more engineering, more impressive engineering in Stardust because of how you keep crisscrossing and all of that. I'm not saying Mako's better. Mako's just better at airtime. What makes Stardust is it's the speed and the continual dueling, seeing the other train on top of you, below you, spiraling around you. It's phenomenal. It's great during the day. It's super fun. At night, it is a must-do. When the world around you goes dark, the park is all lit, which Celestial Park especially is beautiful at night. And then all it is these two well-lit, trains sparkling in the night sky, and they keep crossing over each other and intertwining, and it's the coolest. It is the coolest. This is a wonderful, wonderful roller coaster. I think it's the most fun roller coaster I've ever been on. I think I can say that. I think I've arrived at that decision at this point. It's just so great. Music is great. The daytime and nighttime tracks are both good. It's great. The other fun thing is the inspiration. Very clearly, there is some Jules Verne inspiration, and you cannot possibly have this style of like a Jules Verne roller coaster without drawing comparisons from Space Mountain de la Terre à la Lune, which is the version at Disneyland Paris. There are some serious moments in the queue and the load area that load area reminds me so much of the Space Mountain load area in Paris. Really does. And what's crazy is you're like, wow, think about if they had gone all the way on the theming, how this could have been another level. It is already one of the best roller coasters in the world. But if they had really let them cook on the theming, because people are going to be mad at me, and I don't care because we have to be honest. The load area, there's a whole section when you get upstairs, you go through the metal detectors. The left side of the queue building, the load building, is just open. And it's open to nothing. It's not like there's a bunch of trees waiting to grow in or anything. It's just the back of the show buildings of Ministry of Magic. It's just the whole back of that and just destroying the illusion, and it's a hideous view. And you're like, why couldn't you just put a wall there? Like, just seal that side of the queue and just put a wall there with a mural or something. Why? Why didn't you? Like, why would anyone want to show us that? In 2025 in a park that you spent so much money on, why would you have that visible to guests? Makes no sense whatsoever. What kills me is the first part of the attraction, out front, the part that faces Celestial Park, is gorgeous. There's this giant comet, emerging. There's rock work. There's steel bits. It's beautiful. And the back part has nothing. It's grass. It's just a big grass field. I like this better than Velocicoaster, but you can't argue. Like Velocicoaster, they nailed from a theme perspective. You go through themed environments. It makes sense where it's going. It is a much prettier ride than Stardust Racers. I like Stardust Racers better as a coaster. I get pretty beat up on Velocicoaster, and I'm very old. So, I prefer Stardust because for me it's just fun. It's just real fun getting all that airtime and twisting and twirling around the other trains. It's a load of fun. Velocicoaster, I love it, but it beats me up. I just get thrown around a lot for 2.5 minutes. It's still wonderful, but no, I like Stardust more. But it can't compete thematically. It cannot. The queue-wise, anything around the ride track, it's not even close. And that's the thing is, if we compare it even just to Universal's last two entries, which are Hagrid's and Velocicoaster, and Hagrid's certainly way more of a story coaster than either of the other two, but Velocicoaster, way more of a standard, great, thrilling, big-time roller coaster, like something at a Cedar Point, but taking it to another level by wrapping it in a story and a theme and a lot of immersive details. And then for Stardust, it was like, well, maybe we want to spend the money somewhere else in this park. And it got taken away from them. I bet there were waterfalls and rock work, and I bet at some point in time they were going to do all of those things. I'm sure it was going to happen. And then it didn't. And it's a shame. It doesn't make Stardust less good of a coaster, but it does take it down a notch from where it could have been. It could have been one of the end-all, be-all attractions in the world. And I think it was kept from it a little. I think Velocicoaster is not only talked about the way it is because it is a great roller coaster. I think it's also the buildup of the queue, the Raptors running and the animatronics and the Mr. DNA pre-show. There's so much to that. And then also, like, you're in the paddock and you blow through the paddock and you go through the outdoor part and you pass the Jurassic Park buildings, and there's more to it than a great coaster. And that's what made Velocicoaster like one of these instantly famous and world-renowned theme park attractions, was the combination of incredible roller coaster and incredible theming. And Stardust wasn't given the opportunity when it had a really great backstory and has a really great land that it's a part of. It could have been something momentous, and it's still phenomenal, but it could have been more, and that it hurts my heart. It really hurts my heart that the rug was taken out from under it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to ride it as much as I possibly can the rest of my life. I love it. But it certainly could have been something greater if it had been allowed to be. The queue is abysmal. I know people are going to yell. I don't care. The queue is abysmal. It's a series of awnings and what I've called the Home Goods light up silver balls. They look like they were bought at Home Goods. Like, it's an embarrassing queue. It's terrible. At least it's covered, I guess, but good grief, it's bad. It's real bad. There's no defense. There's no defense of that at all. Onward with Celestial Park. Another thing I want to talk about, the Blue Dragon restaurant. Again, we have a separate review for that here on the channel as well. Another just magnificent interior. And the difference in the rooms, the bar being sort of like the neon, almost like a neon, busy, bustling Asian city street. The serene, like, nighttime garden with the lanterns floating in the center, and then the sort of tea room or something of the sort off to the left side. So much love and care. So much love and care went into these spaces. It really is something special in there. And the food, again, also great. The focus on food and beverage cannot be downplayed. I have had very little in the park I would not eat again. In fact, the only thing I wouldn't eat again is that butterbeer crepe for $19.99. I thought that was pretty bad. Almost every other thing I've eaten in this park, which we're almost in triple digits at this point, has been good to phenomenal. Do not sleep on the food and beverage. So go check out those review videos we have, because you're sure to find something that's going to make you very, very happy. Beyond that, I guess, does that take us to the fountain? I'm trying to think what else I'm missing in Celestial Park. There's some other little venues. There's Celestiki, which people said they were expecting more. I don't know what more to expect. It's a tiki bar out by the, I like that it's by the fountain. So if there's ever a nighttime show, it'll be nice. You have two different bars to choose from. On the left side, if you're looking at it towards the Helios, there's the Celestiki with some tiki drinks. On the right side, you have Bar Zenith, which is outside of Astropub. There's also the bar inside of Astropub, but you could also go to the, there's the Plastered Owl at Oak and Star Tavern as well. Oak and Star Tavern, though, is my favorite. It's my favorite. It's probably my favorite theme park restaurant in Orlando. I'm saying more than anything at Disney. A total package of food and interior. It's definitely my favorite space. The stained glass brickwork, hand-painted murals, these fake tree canopies over you, having a live music stage inside. The booths, has all these pretty booths with stained glass over them. There's these very pretty, they're small, but the bathrooms in there are also gorgeous with the rounded doorways, very ornate, tile work. It just inside and out, it is a gorgeous venue. And then we looked at that menu and said, oh, it's barbecue. Let's get it over with. Let's just do this already. And it was great. It was great. I've never had a theme park, an in-park rib. I've never had ribs in a theme park that I thought were even worth ordering. And these were fall off the bone. I was like, I can't believe these are good. I cannot believe it. You got to watch the review. That interior, and I love the backstory about it's the comet. It's supposedly the comet that you see outside of Stardust is the one that struck outside, and the tree grew from there. The enchanted oak, if you will. Oh, there's a reference. I didn't even talk about I like the flux capacitor on the back of the Stardust trains. I hope we get to learn more about why that is in the future. I hope there's more to that story with Doc Brown. I really hope that. But then there's another reference to the enchanted oak from Lost Continent at Oak and Star Tavern. The tremendous storytelling in Celestial Park. I'm so sad we didn't get to see. I know I've heard from people who saw it that it was just okay. But the fact that we didn't get the storytellers of Celestial Park, we didn't get the Celestials themselves to tell the stories of the place and to tell the stories of traveling to the portals and to really make the space truly feel lived in, I will never forgive Universal for taking that from us. We need some more world building in Celestial Park. We really need it. We really need it. Music-wise, I know they said there's 40 hours of music up in Celestial Park. I'm sure there is. I still heard several things twice. So I think that means I think in each section there's still so much music. I don't think there's one section where it's 40 hours in that one part of Celestial Park. I think throughout Celestial Park there are 40 hours of music, and that's great. It all fit very well. I will say, I think they changed the background loop in Meteor Astropub over the last several days. The first time I went in there was kind of polka-ish, and I'm like, I don't understand this. This is a weird vibe in here. And you might hear it in the review because we recorded that before they changed it. The last couple days I went in there, I was like, this feels different and more adequate now. This feels correct. I almost skipped over Meteor Astropub because it's the least remarkable thing. Exterior-wise, interior-wise, it's just like a lot of brick. The bar is pretty inside, but just the bar. Otherwise, it kind of feels like a SeaWorld restaurant inside, which coming off of Oak and Star and Pizza Moon and Blue Dragon and Atlantic, those interiors are to die for. And then you go into Meteor Astropub and it's just so barren and plain and boring. You're like, what happened? Is this just no one had a strong idea for this? It's kind of the safety restaurant. It's burgers and stuff like that. So maybe they just were like, this one we're just doing because we had to do it. This was no one's real passion project. But it was a passion project. Pizza Moon. Man, Pizza Moon. I want to live in Pizza Moon. The sign outside with the moon licking its lips, the homage to De la Terra a la Lune, from the earth to the moon, the backstory, the vignettes inside. And this is a theme park masterclass where I love this venue. I would die for this venue. But I bet the budget wasn't that big. It turns out in Victorian style, you could get away with the beautifully painted flats with some movement to them. You can make that look ornate and very expensive, but it's actually not. So I think they were able to probably keep a good budget in there, but still deliver something that is a space that people really want to sit and dine in. And that is the art of the money versus the artistry. That's the real magic, is when these guys figure out, like, okay, they gave us this much money and it maybe isn't as much to do what we originally wanted, but if we pick this art style, which fits the theme of our land perfectly, we can make this budget go a really long way and I think deliver something people will love. And they did. That's my assumption. Maybe it's exactly what they envisioned from the first moment. But there's moving mobiles and dioramas and sets and things slide in and out and things are moving and it's great. The kinetic energy in there is magnificent. The vibe, the music, the lighting, everything about Pizza Moon. And the food was good too. Another hit food-wise. It's crazy. It's crazy how good of a job they did. I can't wait to eat a pizza moon again. I'm so sad I have so much more to review because I've been dreaming of sitting in there and watching those little scenes unfold while I eat that pizza covered in Calabrian chili. That's my dream right now. I just want to go in there, but I can't because for work, I need to finish eating everything in this park probably by the end of May. But that's my problem, not yours. You can go in there and eat a Calabrian chili pizza for me, please. I beg of you. Let's talk about the fountain. I love, water features will always work. The water features in the greenery in Celestial Park absolutely work. It's Fountain of Nations worked at Epcot forever. It was dumb to get rid of it, and it was smart of Universal to copy that homework. It was smart to do that. And I'm not saying that's where they got the idea. Fountains in the middle of the park is again, older than theme parks itself. So it's not some new concept. I like that they have the modern fountain system, the World of Color style fountains with LEDs. That's great. They need a legit nighttime show, though. The what's happening with the fountain vignettes in the evening is not a full nighttime show. And you can feel people sit there kind of confused a little bit because two of them, they can't even tell what the show is. So Universal Monsters, it's just, I don't know, it's generic horror music kind of. And so people sit there and eventually like halfway through you see people like, oh, I think that's Dark Universe. I think that's what that is. And then even like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them for Ministry of Magic, even for that one, like, people are kind of like, huh? And then the Nintendo one plays and everyone comes alive because that one's fantastic. And everyone knows what it is, and it's some of the most recognizable music of all time. Without imagery to show, the music better hit. The music better be identifiable or people aren't going to get it. So I don't know if they're going to wrap drones into this, if this is going to morph into something else eventually. But right now, it doesn't really work. We sat there for all of them, and the Celestial Park one's good. People at least understand it's Sky Full of Stars and other songs about constellations and stars, and it's recognizable pop music. So people at least are like, oh, that's that song. Oh, we're in the Celestial area. Yeah, okay, I get it. And then Mario people are, yeah, and even Berk, which the How to Train Your Dragon score is very identifiable for people, even if you're not super familiar with the film series. That's a great piece of music, and people can identify it. So that one works great too. But this park is missing a full nighttime show. It's absolutely missing a full nighttime show, and it's ready for it. You have great seating in the round around this fountain here. And the fountain continues. The show is not just there. It continues down past the carousel and towards the front. The interconnected show system, essentially all the show lighting and everything being interconnected from the top of Celestial Park to the bottom, someday is going to make for something really special. And we saw them testing that a bit when we were staying at the Helios in the presidential suite. And like they were doing just like color testing weeks ago, and people were very excited. We saw actual show programming carried out throughout the entirety of the land. And that was crazy to see. And it's begging. It's begging for a nighttime show, the scale of which no park has ever seen, where an entire land comes to life for a nighttime show. They have to do this. It's built for it. It must happen. I think with the grand opening event, you're going to see, it's not going to be an every night thing. You're going to see some of it at the grand opening event for the media, for sure. But a permanent nighttime offering with the scale like that needs to happen sooner rather than later. It needs to be offered. During the day, it's great to have that space. People sit there and chill. And the bad thing is there's not a lot of shade. There's like 2 shade structures there. There's not a lot of shade in general in Celestial Park, which is a mistake. There probably should have been a little more, but I think they expect you'll go into the stores or you'll go into the restaurants if you want said shade. A little more around the lagoon area might have been good. I know people have said that. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have worked. Maybe there was no real good space for it. I don't know. But it's worth mentioning because people have said that's one of their big complaints. And I think there might be something there, but I also don't have a viable solution off the top of my head either. So we'll leave it at that there. But the fountain is begging for something. Now it's not, because the fountain alone is not a nighttime show. It's not, it's like 1/18 of World of Color, which is not an impressive nighttime show. It's nice that the music happens and the fountains dance. It's nice. But that's like Epcot. Fountain of Nations wasn't a nighttime show. It was a nice thing that happened while you walked by, and maybe you stopped for a song while it danced to it. And that was nice. It was a nice momentary distraction. But to market, say at 8:45 we have this nighttime show, and it's really just 5 fountain shows with dancing lights, like back to back to back to back to back. It's not. It doesn't work. You could feel people were disappointed. We saw people leaving like in the middle of it. Also, at one point, a fountain shot somebody, which it happens at World of Color occasionally, and those are powerful fountains. So you get destroyed, folks. You get decimated. I don't wish it on anybody, but it's going to happen, and you're real close to the fountains in that section of Celestial Park too. So it's inevitable. It's going to happen a lot. It's going to happen very often. Be ready for it. Don't be surprised if you get shot by a rogue fountain and get very, very wet. But all in all, I really like Celestial Park. I think they accomplished a lot. Magnificent interiors. There's some beautiful buildings. The outside of Pizza Moon is gorgeous. The outside of the Atlantic, where it looks like a fish tank. I love Celestial Park. I love the music, the general feeling, the vibe, if you will. The atmosphere is very enjoyable. There's a lot of live entertainment, not necessarily super thematic live entertainment, because they went with a lot of third-party musicians in the end, and then there's those walking statue people now, which I don't care for, but entertainment is entertainment, I guess. And there's the guy on the violin. There's bands. There's always seemingly a band on the bandstand, which I'm always a proponent of live music. It's missing. The things it's missing are some sightline fixes and some more world-building entertainment, some streetmosphere, if you will. Would really tie it all together with a nice bow. But it's a great foundation. It's a strong foundation, and I think works fantastically as the entrance land and the land that ties together the entire story of the park. I think Universal nailed it. It could have been better, but also I think it's a tremendous achievement at the same time. Now, I'm going to end on a real negative note. I wanted to save this for last because I feel like people were just going to come in and be like, oh, you're only negative, blah, 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 blah. I love Celestial Park, but I can't lie. I can't lie about this. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about the Kronos. I think the Kronos is lame. I don't think it's a good park icon. I think it's kind of silly. Number one, it doesn't have enough movement. So the gold centerpiece of the Kronos is super detailed. And when I saw that in art, I was like, wow, if all those layers spin, that's going to be really cool. Every layer of it doesn't spin. Like, it's nice. And the caveat would have been, okay, every layer of that doesn't spin, but maybe the 4 things underneath that represent the portals will spin and move, and that'll bring more life to it, and then it'll all work. They haven't for me yet. I don't know if they're going to move at some point, but they don't. They don't right now. It's just a big gate. It's like a weird parody of that, right? Of the Universal Arch, which I get, like the George Lucas thing, it's poetry, they rhyme. I get that. And I don't have a problem with that. The Kronos being the park icon, and I know I've heard people say, like, oh, the hotel's really the icon. I hope not. Like, it's not the best looking building. It's kind of, we'll do a separate review of Helios. I love the rooms, and there are other things. I love the service. The staff was phenomenal. But man, it's just the Riviera again. It's another big tower hotel missing a lot of detail. And it looks good straight on from the front of Celestial Park, but from the other angle, the side angles, it's the Riviera and the Coronado Tower all over again. They all just keep doing the same things. I'm glad Universal in the park stayed away from those white, boring interiors, but they really fell back into that trap again with the 3 hotels they built, with Stella Nova, Terra Luna, and Helios. They fell into that trap. But I'd rather it be at the hotel. If I'm being honest, I'd rather it be at those hotels than also be at the parks. I'm glad Epic Universe survived that with plenty of detail for people. But the Kronos doesn't do anything for me, and I don't know who it would. Like, even if, like, I love Nintendo, I love that I love the Universal Monsters, and I even like looking at that, I don't look at that and go, oh, cool, and get like teary-eyed. Like, there are moments, look, I did not expect it. There were several moments in this park where I got emotional, for sure. First time in the Captain Cacao store, got a little teary-eyed. I love that. And there are other moments we'll talk about as we go to the portal. So I don't want to hear people that, oh, he doesn't like Universal, he hates them, blah, blah, blah. I felt emotions, and I felt very strong emotions. You know where I felt nothing? At the Kronos. You know, you have this great moment afterwards with the giant statue, the giant sculpture, and looking out at the hotel and looking across all of Celestial Park and the waterfalls and all that. That's beautiful. That turned out great. The Kronos, I don't know what I'm supposed to feel about this thing. What am I supposed to think that's impressive? It's not one of the tallest icons in Orlando. It's not one of the most ornate. It's not the most impressive. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel for this thing. When I like the portals better than the Kronos. I think the 4 portals are cooler than the Kronos is. Let me know in the comments why you think the Kronos is cool. I'm sure there's people that think that's a phenomenal thing. I don't get it. It's a green arch. It's not super huge in scale. It has one moving element. The other things look like they should move. It's just a big gate. I don't know. It doesn't work for me. I don't know. I feel like I'm not getting something that other people are getting. I want to understand why people are getting all teary-eyed outside of it, just because it represents the park that they're excited about. I don't know. I'm at a loss with this one. I'm really stumped with the Kronos as a park icon. But I will tell you, all in all, if you're going to join us for this whole journey of this 5-part series, which is going to take a couple weeks, you're going to find that I think for the most part, very positive about this park. I really have grown to like it. It is easily my favorite Universal park. I like it a lot more than several Disney parks around the world, if I'm being honest. There's a lot to like about it, and I think there's a lot of room to grow, for sure. There's a good foundation to grow upon. But the Kronos, it's probably the thing I'm going to be the most negative about overall. That and sightlines. The Kronos and sightlines are the 2 things I'm probably going to be stuck to a bit as far as negative things for this park. But otherwise, I really love it. I love Epic Universe. I think it's great. And we have a lot more to talk about, though. So if you enjoyed this so far, if you actually made it all the way through before there was one negative thing that you liked that I didn't, that you decided was the end of our relationship. If you enjoyed it otherwise, please hit the like button and please subscribe. We're going to keep going with these. I do have to do some traveling in between, so it might be a little bit between chapters here, essentially. We'll do our best to keep up. But this is, I think, a good starting point with Celestial Park. Let me know whatever you agree with or don't agree with in the comments. I'd love to have that conversation. We don't have to hate each other just because we don't agree on every little thing and every little part of this park. That's what makes this fun, is to be able to have this discourse and talk about what I like, what you like, and those things. It doesn't have to come to blows, which I feel like so many people want it to, and it really just doesn't need to. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Please subscribe for more great content. We have lots of Epic Universe content and a ton of dining reviews. So much. Please don't let all these calories I've had to eat be in vain. I'm going to have to go on the most hellacious diet this summer to survive. So please don't let it be for nothing. Please go support our dining reviews. We appreciate your time, and thanks for watching this honest review, and more to come. Stay tuned.